news from the NFL. Adam Schefter reporting that the Lions are trading running back David Montgomery to the Texans for a 4th-round pick, offensive lineman Juice Scruggs, and a 7th-round pick. Our reaction to the trade. Go ahead, Triggs.
It's another year in his contract. It's a no-brainer for the Houston Texans. You pick up a functional running back for a 5th-round pick. We like the Sonic and Knuckles thing in Detroit, but they're going to move on. They're going to save the money there, go elsewhere.
Yeah, I really like this for Houston. Joe Mixon was so good there his first year and then really hasn't been healthy enough. And so it certainly puts a giant question mark on the future of Joe Mixon, not only in Houston, but really NFL career-wise. So I like the addition of that style of running back in Houston. I have some question marks once again, like I did last offseason. This is the second offensive lineman that they've traded today with an offensive line that was okay last year. So there's 2 new holes in their offensive line in Houston. For Detroit, it makes a ton of sense. Gibbs has become the main factor. They're going to have to pay him a ton of money. They will find, hopefully, that role player or at least that secondary physical back somewhere in either free agency or the draft.
Stephen A.?
I don't mind the deal. I don't mind the deal at all. I think anytime you can buffer your running game, that takes some of the pressure, presumably, off of C.J. Stroud, assuming he's going to be there, which he should. But we all know how bad he was in the playoffs. He's got some making up to do, no doubt about that. So I definitely think this improving their running game helps. Giving up another offensive lineman, I'm kind of wondering about that, particularly considering, you want to be able to protect your quarterback. You want to run block as well, but we'll wait and see with Detroit. I get where you're coming from, Dan, because of Gibbs and what he means to their franchise, etc. But he is just electrifying. But as electrifying as he is, he's relatively small. And I think that having that additional cat to run the football on occasion, I think helps him, helps preserve him to some degree. I think now we can assume he'll have an even heavier load moving forward. I'm wondering how that's going to affect. We know what he can do with the ball in his hands. I'm just talking about health-wise. That's my only reservation. Outside of that, I completely agree with y'all.
The Texans had 34 rushing touchdowns over the last 3 seasons. David Montgomery alone had 33 during that span. That Texans defense, and now they have a solid run game. Yikes. The projected #1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza, did not throw at the NFL Combine over the weekend. Many of the other top quarterback prospects did, including Mel Kiper Jr.'s second-ranked quarterback. That's Alabama's Ty Simpson. Arkansas quarterback Taylon Green opened some eyes, setting quarterback records in the 40, vertical jump, and broad jump. Dan, was there a quarterback that surprised you, impressed you the most at the Combine?
Oh, it was Ty Simpson. Clearly the best thrower of the football of the guys that participated. I love the fact that, 1, he was the most natural thrower when you watch him throw the ball. 2, by far the best feet within that group. I also think the fact that he weighed in almost 15 pounds more than he did really played at the end of the season for Alabama last year. I thought it was a really good weekend for Ty Simpson. I'm not a big combine person. I think it's easy to go out there and throw in shorts and whatnot. It's not real life. But I do think the things that matter interviewed incredibly well by all reports as well. So Ty Simpson, if there were question marks at QB2, I don't know why. It's definitely solidified that. I'm of the camp. I think quarterback 1 and quarterback 2 are much closer this year than quarterback 2 and quarterback 3.
Let me take you to quarterback 3 then, because that was a debate going into this thing, and I know his name has been dragged through the mud throughout his college career. Drew Aller had an awesome week too.
I agree.
This is a 6'5", 230-pound quarterback, where Ty Simpson has 15 starts in his career.
Yeah.
Drew Aller has 50 starts in his college career, and he broke his ankle this year, and obviously James Franklin loses his job, and Penn State's season goes off the rails. But he threw a better deep ball than Ty Simpson. He interviewed incredibly well, and I asked all the GMs that I spoke with, I said, tell me about the different quarterbacks, and the consistent thing is that in the room, some guys just have it. That I've been a 5-star prospect my entire life. I feel very comfortable in this setting, and Drew Aller walks in, and he is that Pied Piper. He's that guy that people follow. Now, I understand the college career did not go as well as Ty Simpson's or, of course, Mendoza's, but Drew Aller is maybe a 3rd quarterback, and potentially that guy at the end of the 1st round is like a waiver pick saying, hey, I just want to get a win. Why not?
Yeah.
End of the
Why
first
not?
round.
There is such a there is an issue where there is a supply and demand issue with quarterbacks in this league right now. We're talking about Malik Willis, and we're talking about Geno Smith as people are going to be doing flips over. You draft a guy like Drew Aller, end of the 1st, early 2nd round, why not? Big arm. We'll see what happens.
Before I chime in, Dan Orlovsky, could you please refresh my memory about the size on Ty Simpson? How tall is he?
I think he was just short of 6'2" and weighed at about 210 pounds.
Right.
Not big.
And you said you put on about 15 pounds since January?
Yeah, so I believe he ended the season right around 195-ish or so. Now, there's some stories attached to that, the reason why, but about 50 pounds, yep.
Yeah, a lot of protein. Let's leave it a lot of protein drinks. Let's just say that's
whey
what
protein?
Water weight.
Let's just say that. Let's just say that. Okay. Here's the deal. So 28 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions. 300-yard games. I watched them. Wisconsin, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma. He looked stellar in those games. This is my reservation, and it's primarily due to his size. And when you bring up Drew Schrager, I get that because when you 6'5" and got some girth on you, I'm thinking durability on the NFL level. I'm trusting that more than I'm trusting an undersized guy. So that's where my reservation comes in about Ty Simpson. Then I'm looking at the last 4 games or so, where he's the last 4 or 5 games. 147 yards against Eastern Illinois, no big deal. They won that 56-0. 122 yards against Auburn in the regular season conference game. 212 yards against Georgia. They got blown out. Wasn't even close. I watched that SEC championship game. First round against Oklahoma. Wasn't bad at all. And then Indiana. He threw for 67 yards. That's the last time we saw him. And I'm thinking about him being undersized. Not just undersized in terms of his girth, undersized in terms of his height as well. So I get where y'all are coming from in terms of him throwing the football. But this is the National Football League, man. And I got to be concerned if you have that lack of size, meaning height, and that lack of girth. I would tell you it better be a precipitous drop-off from Ty Simpson at number 2, Dan, to an Aller at number 3 or somebody else before I go that route with him number 2. There better be a precipitous drop-off because if it's close, I'm going with the cat with more physicality, more size to his advantage.
Not to pile on Simpson here, and you can respond to this, but there's also in the last couple of years, the most important stat might not be your height, your weight. It might be college starts and whether you can go right now. And Ty Simpson having just 15 starts. When you look, he's been compared to Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy had 43 college starts. I can't compare him to Brock Purdy. Truth of the matter is, Ty Simpson, you look at his starts and the other first-round picks in the recent years who have had that little. It's Trey Lance, Anthony Richardson. It's not a stellar list of guys who have.
That's not good company.
Okay.
That's not good company.
Okay, I agree with that. And that's a real thing, and that's a fact, not an opinion. I do think some of the Mitchell Trubisky, Anthony Richardson, their athletic profiles rather than those traditional pocket passing quarterbacks. So that's just a difference. He also turned down like $6.5 million to go to the University of Miami this year because he only wanted to have Alabama. So he would have had the opportunity to get more college snaps. That would have been meaningful. I do think there's going to be teams scared away from the 15 starts, and probably justifiably so.
Well, maybe there's a team he can go to where he could sit for a little bit of time. And
you cut on that Missouri game. You turn on that Missouri tape, and you're like, this kid can flat out play.
Yeah, but then you put on some other tape, and it does give you a little bit.
There's a lot of tape where you're like, this kid can flat out play.
And he's just recently watched the Missouri game, so that's why there's that. All right, let's go to a quick take here.
It'd be more believable if you didn't have on those cheap sneakers.
Number 1,